Ever since I realized that not everyone on this planet speaks the same language, and that some languages are harder to learn than others, I've been curious about the question, which one is the hardest then? And according to any data, hardest language to learn is Chinese Mandarin, and second hardest is Arabic, but those are for English speakers. And here come some questions. Which language is hardest to learn for native Mandarin speakers? Is German hard to learn for native Arabic speakers? Is English hard to learn for native Spanish speakers? Look, in English and Spanish, even similar is similar, so if English is easy for Hispanohablantes, pues why did there scenes like this?
You can go home, your car's good.
Huh?
You can go home.
Okay, see.
What?
This and other questions I'll try to answer this video, and I will start by a little explanation. What is actually the language family? A language family is a group of languages related through descent from a common ancestor called the proto-language of that family. And proto-language is a hypothetical language from which the languages in a language family evolved. Since language families are a group of languages, the best way to separate them is to pick the language with the most native speakers and try to answer which language is hardest to learn for every of them. Based on the picture I found, there's at least 16 major language families, and these are the major languages in each of these families. However, there is a problem with the number of native speakers, or speakers in general. Even with languages like Thai, which have 60 to 70 million speakers, it's hard to determine language learning difficulty. So I'll screen out language families where the largest language has fewer than 10 million speakers and focus only on the big guys. After that, we stay with languages such as Swahili, Thai and of course English. And to be clear, these numbers of people who speak these languages are total, which means natives and people who learned one of these as a second language. Now we've got our base to work from and can move on to specifics, but there's a few more things I want to explain. I will cover them while talking about which language is hardest to learn for English speakers. It will make things smoother this way. So what's the hardest language to learn for English speakers? Almost all the articles on this topic are written from perspective of English natives. Even in other languages, there's a lot of information out there, but the most reliable source is always going to be scientific research. Luckily, there is some. Foreign Service Institute, FSI, created a rank based on scientific studies. The ranking is divided in 5 categories, starting with the easiest languages such as Danish, moderately harder ones like Swahili, even more challenging ones like Russian or Hindi, and finally the most difficult languages such as Chinese and Arabic. The FSI research is a great source, but it focuses on language students, people already engaged in learning languages, not the average person, and that's why I decided to take a different approach. I collected 7 high SEO articles from Google for the phrase "What's the hardest language to learn for English speakers?" and created my own ranking. Here's how it works. If the article mentioned the hardest language in general, each language got 1 point. If the article had a ranked list, the first place got 5 points, the second 4 points and so on, with the 5th place and below getting 1 point each. Here's how the final ranking looks. And because low-ranked languages are quite random, like Danish or rather niche like Cantonese, I decided to cut all the languages below 3 points. The tone of this video might suggest that languages from the same language family are easier to learn. And most of the time they are, but we have some exceptions here. Russian, Polish and Icelandic, for example, are Indo-European languages like English, but they are much harder to learn than languages from first category, even though they are from different families. In a logical way, we just need to consider every branch of every language family. It would take definitely too long. We're gonna just twist this a bit and briefly consider what's the hardest language to learn for Polish and Russian native speakers. Sorry Icelandic, but there was no data. On this website is written that hardest languages for Polish native speakers are Mandarin, Arabic, Japanese, Hungarian and Finnish. Now Russian, and I had trouble with finding data about this one, but I have background in learning both Polish and Russian. In my personal opinion, Russian is just easier Polish, excluding the writing system. Cyrillic is different than Latin alphabet, but also is not familiar to any writing system from previous ranks, so I think hardest languages for Poles would be also mostly accurate in terms of difficulty for native Russian speakers. So I will just copy and paste previous rank and leave it as it is. So moving on to the Hungarian. I think rank from this website is going to be accurate, even though it contains Hungarian, but my conclusion after all research is that every country with hard language like to flex on it. These languages are most different from Hungarian and generally considered the most difficult to learn, so I think it will be a good pick. Now, Chinese Mandarin.
Navy, this is the Chinese Navy, this is the Chinese terrorist guy. Please go away quickly in order to run judgment.
I am a United States military aircraft conducting lawful military activities outside national airspace. I am operating with due regard as required under international law.
On this website is written that hardest for them is Arabic, Russian, Georgian and German. Arabic and Chinese have no similarities, so that's why Arabic is hardest language for Chinese people in general. This one is funny. If you don't have the support of faith, learning Arabic well will be a mental torture. This would be a creative spoken in most languages. But I want to add a little conclusion here. I saw many comments posted by Chinese people complaining that English is really hard for them because it's chaotic. In different words, the same letter has different pronunciation and so on. Typical English stuff that you don't even think about. Many of them even said that because of this, German, French or Spanish are much easier for them than English. Mainly because in the English language there is a little gender distinction, or there is hardly any distinction at all. But I don't want to mess with this ranking, so I will just leave it as it was, just adding English as the 5th place. Moving on to Arabic.
Literally.
Literally.
Literally. Ya Allah.
Literally.
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 According to this website, the hardest language is French, followed by German, with Chinese being third and English coming after that. It's interesting and I'm not sure what to think about it, but it's the only source I found, so let's move on. To Hindi. I know Hindi belongs to the Indo-European family, but I wanted to include it as well due to its distinct characteristics. And no surprise. Chinese Mandarin, Arabic, Japanese, Korean and Russian. I see no surprise because Hindi have no similarities with none of this, except a little in Korean. This guy says there is not, but second says that he is Hindi native and learning Korean for him is easier because of that, so I will leave it like it is. Now, Indonesian. And I had trouble with this one because it is different than the rest well-known languages. Easiest to learn for them is Malayan, but not Swahili as the FSI rank would suggest. I only found rank like this, but I see it's based on FSI rank. But I'm gonna leave this anyway because this language is easy to learn for English natives, so it should be similar with hardest ones. Now Telugu. It's hard to find information for this one, but since it's not tonal like Mandarin, have regular grammar, unlike Arabic or Icelandic, has a relatively simple syllable structure, unlike Polish, Russian or Hungarian. I think I would guess all positions and their places in the article called "What's the hardest languages to learn for Telugu speakers?" But maybe if something would surprise everybody in this aspect, leave a comment.
Doesn't have an election and vote system. Come to North Korea today.
Yo, dudes, the Empire's pretty chill. Maybe you could, like, join it or something.
We have the same case with Korean. I didn't find any data, but because on this website, which I can't copy anything from, it's said that Chinese is easy for Koreans because both languages exhibit influences from Chinese in their vocabulary, although to varying degrees, and both languages share a similar SOV, subject, object, verb, grammatical structure, and utilize honorific systems. I will just put Chinese and Japan rank, and here we go. And moving on to Japanese.
Haro? Hibachi Benihana Teriyaki.
Nagasaki, Okinawa, Hokkaido, Yokohama.
And according to this website, which finally have a ranking, we can see Arabic, which is kinda obvious. We don't see Chinese, and also languages such as Spanish or Czech, so, and also English. And moving on to Turkish.
I'm so sad!
Nothing new except Tagalog or Mongolian, so let's move on to Vietnamese.
To your friend! man. Hey, I know that guy. I him. He cried like a bitch. Vietnam, undefeated.
Which is another interesting case. Vietnamese is a tonal language, like Chinese, with 6 distinct tones that affects the meaning of words. It has a relatively simple grammar with no grammatical gender, number or verb conjugations. The writing system is based on Latin alphabet, but uses distracts to indicate tones and additional sounds. Another interesting case because they use Latin alphabet, but at the same time it's tonal language. That's why Mandarin is classified as easy to learn for them. Same with English and German. Some people on Reddit say that Chinese is not hard to learn for them. Also Slavic languages, however, aren't that most difficult, I guess. This website says that languages that might be hard for them are Russian, German, Italian and Portuguese. Now, Greek. Something funny happened when ChatGPT was helping me with the points calculation. It completely overlooked Greek at first and then didn't consider it anymore. I'll assume that was just a mistake. I don't think this website has accurate data because it stated that this rank is linked with FSI and NVTC, but this rank is so different from others that I'll take it as a pick.
A. Bangkok. B. Bangdik. C. Bang. By D. Bangtik.
I want to start with this comment from a clearly wise man. He said that Thai is an isolating language, meaning it doesn't inflect words for tense, gender or number. The ideal languages for Thais to learn would also be isolating languages with direct sentence structure and no inflection of tense or mode, like Chinese, Vietnamese or Malay. If someone only looks at the characters, on the other hand, Chinese could be considered one of the easiest or one of the hardest, depending on perspective, while languages like Hindi or Farsi would likely be viewed as more difficult. Even though he didn't know which languages are hard to learn for Thais, I know. And I won't tell you. Try to guess in the comments. Same for Swahili and Kuzgo Kwecha.